It was a clarion call from the nationwide tax day Tea Party to the citizens of Detroit. Come protest at the auto show. Come to the North American International Auto Show and let Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi hear what you think about the government takeover of General Motors. Let's go protest. Politico.com posted an article about the expected protest this morning. Tea Partiers to greet House Dems. It said, House leaders will be greeted by Tea Party protests. Seeing that article, we put that item on the agenda for our news meeting here for this show this afternoon, thinking this might be an important hook for talking tonight about the end of the congressional recess. Lawmakers protested in Detroit before heading back to D.C. But then the first AP story on the protests in Detroit hit the wires, and this is how it led. Quote, Charlie Jenera thought there would be a sizable showing for a planned Tea Party protest outside the annual International Auto Show in Detroit on Monday. For the first 45 minutes, though, it was just him and one other person. Apparently later, the Tea Party turnout swelled to nearly 24. Politico says there were about 20 people there ultimately. Why was the turnout so low? Well, it was 18 or so degrees in the Motor City this morning. That could have played a part. But also consider the efforts of another Michigan Tea Party organizer, a person named Joan Fabiano. Ms. Fabiano sent out emails to Tea Partiers asking them to please not show up to the Tea Party protest, arguing, quote, it only hurts fellow Michiganders and Michigan commerce. Businesses are already hurting. Ms. Fabiano told the Associated Press she'd like to think that her efforts were responsible for the bad turnout at the auto show Tea Party. So we have one group of Tea Partiers organizing a protest and another group of Tea Partiers organizing to stop that protest. Tea Partiers working at cross purposes. Tea Party on Tea Party torpedoing. And it isn't just limited to Detroit. A group called the Tea Party Nation is taking heavy fire from the Tea Party Patriots and other activists for its Tea Party convention that's due to be held at the Opryland Gaylord Hotel in Tennessee next month. Tickets to that event, as we have described here on the show before, cost $549 per person. Sarah Palin is keynoting. We do now have a little more insight into why that convention is so expensive to attend. Tea Party Nation's president, a criminal defense lawyer in Nashville, telling Politico.com today that he hopes the convention turns a profit. It is a for-profit enterprise. Remember when FreedomWorks was selling speaking slots at the 9/12 Tea Party in Washington for $10,000 a pop? And the Tea Party movement isn't just pro-business, it is a business. But don't let that spoil the grassrootsy feel. Joining us now is reporter Zachary Roth. Zach Roth from Talking Points Memo. He has been talking with the aggrieved anti-Tea Party Nation Tea Partiers while reporting on the Tea Party movement. Zach, thanks very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
What are the main complaints about the Tea Party convention? It seems to be getting people's hackles up.
Yeah. The main sort of ostensive complaint is the price tag, which you just mentioned in your lead-in, $549 per person. I talked to a conservative activist in Nashville, Tennessee, which is where the convention is being held, who told me she can't even afford to go, even though she doesn't have to pay for travel and hotel and so on, because it's just too expensive for her. And obviously the Tea Party movement as a whole has always sort of billed itself as the movement of the sort of working man and woman of America. So a lot of people are feeling like this is not consistent with that Tea Party ethos to be charging people $549 and to be holding it in this sort of swank hotel in Nashville. But what's interesting also is that turns out to be sort of a proxy for other more kind of vague concerns. And the first of those is that this movement is being kind of co-opted by the people who are organizing this event and turned into a money-making venture, which you alluded to. And that's in part because the guy organizing it, Judson Phillips, hasn't been very clear about what the financial arrangements are and what he's planning to do with this profit that he hopes to turn. He said vaguely that he hopes to set up a 527 to put money back into conservative politics, but he hasn't really talked about how that's going to work and so on. The other thing, though, is that there's a fear that this is a way for the Republican Party to kind of move in and co-opt the energy of the Tea Party movement. So, for instance, I was told that the organizers had voted to invite Michael Steele, the RNC chairman, to come and speak at the convention. So there's a lot of fear among the more sort of grassroots types in the movement that this is the Republican Party's kind of play to take over the Tea Party movement, and that also is sort of against everything that the Tea Party movement has always stood for.
It seems to me like there's two different ways to look at this. One is to say that there's a bunch of different types of organization within the Tea Party movement. There's the guy running it as a business, which is happening with the convention. There's a group, another Tea Party group, the Tea Party Express and its associated PAC, that is set up essentially by a Republican PR firm that seems to be sort of turning all of its money, its donations back to that PR firm, at least most of them. TPM having done a lot of reporting on that. But then there are also groups that do seem to be legitimately grassroots. The question is, can they symbiotically work together, or is there animosity? Is one group going to try to fight to beat out the other types of organizing?
Well, there's definitely animosity right now, but the interesting thing is it's not like those distinctions are completely clear, because as you said, the Tea Party Patriots, which is the group that can make sort of the most legitimate claim to be a kind of grassroots group, has from the start been working with a group called Freedom Works, which, as you know, is Dick Armey's group, who's the former Republican majority leader, and whose group Freedom Works is backed by corporations. So there's never been some sort of original, pure Tea Party movement that was absolutely free from this taint of politics and corporate money. And I think that's probably true of any kind of movement like this. There's shades of gray, and right now the different parts are not working too well together.
Although I would say the original, like the sort of this election cycle, libertarian Tea Party folks, that really, it's almost a completely separate movement, but they know they feel ripped off in part by the folks who have come around in this cycle. So it seems to me like it's one of the most interesting things going on in American politics right now, because it is changing so much, but also because every new bit of reporting seems to set off yet another firestorm within the movement. And you've helped us cover it a lot with your reporting, so thanks a lot, Zach.
Thanks for having me.
Zach Roth is with Talking Points Memo. All right.